Top 10 picks in the books at the 2023 NHL Draft in Nashville. 6 centers, a pair of defensemen, and 2 right wings comprising that front 10. It's led off by 4 centers. Of course, Connor Bedard, number 1 overall to the Chicago Blackhawks. The intrigue began after that first pick of the NHL Draft. I mentioned 4 centers in a row, maybe not necessarily in the order that we expected. Let's bring in Kayla Anderson, HQ NHL Draft analyst, and Kayla's in Nashville. Your reaction to the Ducks not going with Fantilli, but instead Leo Carlsson at 2 overall.
Yeah, I was definitely a little bit surprised that we did not see the University of Michigan center Adam Fantilli going to the Anaheim Ducks at number 2. I think overall a little bit of surprise there, even in the media room here. But he, of course, falls down to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Anaheim Ducks taking a really good center in Leo Carlsson, who played in the Swedish Hockey League, clearly playing with what is a lot of the big men out there. So definitely getting in that type of competition. And I feel like this guy, like I said, a pretty big body, a guy that could probably come in and play right away. Maybe he goes back and plays 1 year in the Swedish Hockey League. But we're talking about a strong guy, right? A guy that you can have be that piece for the future. And that's what the Anaheim Ducks are looking for, to really build upon something like that.
Yeah, interesting. He is the highest drafted Swede player other than Mats Sundin and Rasmus Dahlin. So high standards for him, certainly. But, you know, the Columbus Blue Jackets, Kayla, had the worst record in the league. They didn't get the best of luck in the lottery, but perhaps this was their lottery, getting Fantilli 3rd overall. He was only the 3rd freshman ever to win the Hobey Baker Award. What kind of player are they landing in Columbus?
They are getting a phenomenal player. And guess what? A player that is just right up the road. He will actually be joining another former Michigan Wolverine in Columbus, and Zach Werenski. So a lot of Michigan there in Ohio State territory. But in all seriousness, Jim, this is a guy who I think when you see 30 goals in 36 games, incredible freshman year. Another guy, like you said, I compare the University of Michigan in terms of hockey a lot of times to like Alabama football, right? They produce great talent. You see it all the time. And this is a guy, too, a big hitter. Skates up and down like a freight train, right? Like he's going to get through. And I think this is a guy, too, that you're going to see possibly play immediately. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, they've been looking for their center for years. Look, I covered this team 6 years ago, and they were looking for that guy. And it looks like they have finally found that guy that they've been looking for so long.
Yeah, you get the impression that Fantilli, with regards to the physicality of the NHL, maybe Fantilli is a little bit more prepared right now than Leo Carlsson. Yeah. When you look at the top 10 picks in the draft, with regards to your biggest takeaway, what stood out for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, and obviously you're watching like here live, right? And you're hearing the reaction from the crowd and everything. And so at number 5, I think it was no surprise to see defenseman David Reinbacher go there to Montreal. But then as we're sitting here waiting at number 6 with the Arizona Coyotes pick, I think everybody was assuming offense, right? And no, instead it was Dmitry Shemishev. And even Shemishev, when they showed him in the audience, his face kind of dropped. He was surprised himself that he was taken at number 6. I really do like this guy in the long run as a defensive player. I mean, he's a big body, right? 6'4". And this is a guy that you don't want to cross paths with when he's skating up the ice at all. I think he skates really strong for being a big guy. I mean, even his backwards motions, getting in and out of traffic. But I think the biggest question with him is probably, can you continue to grow that offensive game from him? And when could you see him, right?
No question about it. He has the size, 19th ranked international skater, according to Central Scouting. Perhaps, Kayla, not the first Russian expected off the board. Many thought it would be Michkov, who went the next pick to the Philadelphia Flyers. Was that a surprise from that standpoint, that the first Russian wasn't Michkov?
100%. I think that the big talk of the draft, besides Connor Bedard going #1 overall to Chicago, was where was Michkov going to go, right? I think a lot of people thought he for sure was the top 3 talent in this year's draft. The biggest thing about him, Jim, is that I think a lot of teams didn't really want to wait out that 3-year KHL contract. And I think that turned some teams off. But really, when you look at it from a player perspective, this guy has it all. And I think that is a steal for the Philadelphia Flyers.
She's Kayla Anderson, HQ, NHL Draft analyst in Nashville. Kayla, we appreciate the insight.
Thanks so much.
Again, this is what the first 10 picks looked like, headed line by Connor Bedard, #1 overall to the Chicago Blackhawks. Leo Carlsson, slight surprise, goes #2 overall to the Anaheim Ducks, as Adam Fantilli, in a sense, falls to 3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. 4 centers lead off the draft, followed by a pair of defensemen. 2 right wings followed, as there were 2 right wings, 2 Ds, and 6 centers in the top 10 picks of the draft. Later on HQ, Alan May will recap the entire first round of this 2023 NHL Draft.